Hello and welcome to the Weather Studio Live right here at the Met Office HQ in Exeter. I'm Met Office meteorologist and presenter Aidan McGibbon.
And I'm Alex Deakin. Welcome along. Thank you for being there. It's been a fun week.
It has, and today is the day of change, isn't it? After all the remarkable sunshine and increasing warmth that many people have enjoyed this week. Well, it is all changing into the weekend, so we'll have a lot more on that. But yeah, it's been an interesting week to be a
beautiful week. Beautiful week. I had a gorgeous ride into work on my bike. I think Tuesday or Wednesday. The sun was just coming up. It was spectacular, and we bumped into each other on our bikes on our ride in this morning, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, I was jealous of your battery.
I was cheating. But it was my 5th ride in this week, so you know.
There
you go.
You're allowed. You're allowed.
Thank you. I am old. I am allowed a battery.
Speaking of sunshine, what have you been up to this week?
Well, lots. I did the deep dive, which was quite interesting because we focused a lot on the States and the tornado outbreak last weekend. Dan Holly came in. It was really interesting. He's a very knowledgeable guy. Yeah, really, really knowledgeable guy. You may be aware of Dan. He used to be TV weather presenter in East Anglia, but now he works here as a deputy chief, and a really insightful stuff about the tornadoes in the States. But it wasn't just the tornadoes, it was a multi-hazard event, as they say. But yeah, strong winds, heavy rain, wildfires in Oklahoma. There's not been a lot of coverage on those about the news, but they're devastating over there. So yeah, it was a really interesting piece. So you can catch our deep dive. You did the 10-day trend?
Yeah, it was a tricky one this week. It's often tricky in the spring because the jet stream's weaker. You get fewer contrasts across the Northern Hemisphere to grasp hold of and to give you an idea of what's happening in the future. But there are a couple of things that we can say. We'll go into a bit more detail. The signals at the end of March and start of April are still looking similar to what I was talking about in the 10-day trends. We'll be covering that in this live as well.
It does always get tricky, doesn't it, this time of year, in particular, as you head into mid-spring, I guess. Although, you know, astronomically speaking, it's only early spring because, of course, this week we had the equinox.
Yeah, yesterday.
One minute past 9, which means we're now, as you said, tilting towards the sun. Yeah. In your TikTok, which you did on Wednesday.
Yeah, my fast-moving TikTok.
Check that out. It's good fun.
And that coincided with the warmest day of the year so far. First time we exceeded 20 Celsius this year. Not an unusual date for it to exceed 20 Celsius. We had a question in actually from one of you guys who've been waiting for this live to start. And the question from Weather Fans Michael was, what's the earliest and latest date that 20 Celsius has been recorded in the UK? So, December and January, we've never had 20 Celsius recorded. The earliest month is February, and the date was the 25th of February back in 2019.
I was going to say, it's quite recent. I remember the first time we got to 20 Celsius.
Because that was the first time we'd recorded 20 Celsius in the winter.
In winter, of course, yeah.
So it was 2019 on the 25th of February. The following day was even warmer. That was the warmest winter day on record. That was 21 point something. And then the latest in the year is November the 13th. That's the latest
we've recorded 20 Celsius.
It was relatively recent as well. 2022, Porth Madog in Gwynedd, Wales. So
all these relatively recent warming. I was wondering, it's almost as if the world is warming up, isn't it, with these records being broken.
Either that or it's a big coincidence.
Good stats, though. And speaking of sunshine and warmth, I did something else we did this week. We posted about UV. This week, and we made a little video which we posted last week on our YouTube channel. I think we could probably show a clip just now, actually, all about UV, which is getting higher at this time of year. If we've got the world here and our atmosphere is all around it, and the sun is, say, over here. Now, it is spewing out those UV rays, but the atmosphere is helping to shield us from the very worst. Now, if you think about where you are in the world, that is going to make a difference to how much atmosphere those rays are going through. If you're here on the equator, then that distance there is shorter than that distance there. So if you're on the latitude where the UK is, there's more atmosphere to go through. So you're a bit more protected at latitudes where the UK is than compared to the equator, for example. Some high-quality art going on there, isn't there?
Speaking of art, I'm glad you're taking an interest now because there's a quiz this week and it's to do with weather in art.
Wow.
So you're going to absolutely smash that. You'll
My
be
C
brilliant.
at GCSE Art coming to the fore yet again. I'm going to do some drawing in a second.
You only got a
hopefully,
C
as well.
based on that.
I know, absolutely outrageous. Mr. Draper was so disappointed with my C. Sorry, Mr. Draper, if you're watching. But yeah,
top quality art coming up.
Art quiz coming up, so don't miss that. And if you are a fan of the Weather Studio Dialogue, do hit the like button. That does us a big favour. And if you haven't subscribed already, then do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are gaining followers all the time, aren't we? We're looking to hone it and improve it. So yeah, we love your comments, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching afterwards as well. Keep your comments coming because we try and answer those questions maybe in next week's live. So yeah, keep your comments coming. Do hit that thumbs up and do hit subscribe if you haven't done already.
Actually, John Van Eminis, he asked a question at the end of last week's live and he's asked it again in the chat. And this will put your art skills to the test. It's a question about the difference between warm and cold occlusions.
Okay, so I will go to the board and try and demonstrate. You're going to have to help me on this.
Okay.
Because I'm not, you know. It's been a while since I've looked at this, but yeah. So let's do a kind of quick weather front. Oh, see, started off straight away, wrong colour. That should be a line of blue, shouldn't it? Is that going to be right? So a cold front, blue line, triangles on it. Warm front, red line, semicircles on it. But where they meet, I'm just going to do it in blue. We have an occlusion, which has both the circles and the triangles on. I made a video about weather fronts and reading synoptic charts. That's another video you can watch on our YouTube channel as well. So that is an occlusion. So we're talking about occlusions, not warm fronts, not cold fronts, but occlusions. An occlusion is basically where a cold front catches up with a warm front. And it's easier to view this if we do it in a cross section. So now, imagine this is the surface of the Earth. A warm front, if you're watching in cross-section, if you view it in cross-section, a warm front slopes forward and warm air travelling in this direction, travelling towards me, warm front travelling in this direction, warm air in here, and a cold front is generally steeper, cold air tucked in here. Now, all moving this way, the cold front slopes that way because there's denser air at the bottom of a cold front and it's catching up because cold fronts travel faster than warm fronts. Generally speaking, the winds are stronger, pushing cold fronts along. So eventually the cold front will catch up with the warm front, and where it does, it forms an occlusion. So if we go back, this is the surface, and once it's caught up, it looks a bit like this. Generally speaking, you've got the, oh, that's not a good one, is it? Where's Mr. Draper when you need him? So the cold front has now caught up with the warm front. Because the air behind the cold front is colder, hence why it's called a cold front, it's also denser. So it undercuts the warm air, and the warm air gets pushed up here. And now you've got an occlusion. Now this would be a cold occlusion because the cold front here is, the cold air here is colder than the colder air in front of the warm front. So this is cool air. And this is cold air. So that would be a cold occlusion, and the rain is in here. As that warm air gets pushed up, that's where the rainy zone would be. But you can get it that the cold air in front of the warm front is colder than the air behind the cold front. And that is when you get a warm occlusion. But that looks slightly different. Let's go back. So now, in a warm occlusion, you've now got the warm air tucked up here, but now this is the cold air, and this is the cooler air. And what happens now, the slight difference is, you still get the rain in this zone where the warm air is pushed up, that's where the rainy zone is, but the front is now behind where you actually see the rain. So that's one of the differences you see on a chart. With an occlusion, a warm occlusion, the rain is often slightly ahead of where the surface front is drawn, because the surface front is always drawn where the cold air meets the ground. So with the other one, it's slightly further ahead. And so it's all to do with the relative temperature of the colder zones in those two air masses either side of the warmer air, which always gets pushed up because it's warmer air. Does that make sense? Did I do that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Message from Mr. Draper. He says he regrets giving you a C. I'm kidding. He hasn't messaged, but if someone knows him, let him know about this video.
Do get in touch. Right, should we talk about the weather and what's happened this week? Because the satellite image is quite interesting, isn't it? Look at that swirl out into the Atlantic, being pushed down. Storm Martinho, named by the Portuguese Weather Service, and you can see why. Look at all that wet and windy weather that's been across Spain and Portugal of late. It's been a very, very wet March so far. The UK, the weather pattern's sort of circulating like this. You can see the clouds moving around because we've had high pressure in control and the winds go clockwise around high pressure. You can tell so much just from the satellite image. You can also see that the cloud from that Storm Martinho has now been shearing ahead. And it is just kind of medium to high level cloud at this stage, but the low pressure is now drifting its way northwards, and that is going to bring us a change as we go into the weekend. A few showers around today, but more of them spreading north as we go into the weekend. You can see that dip. Actually, it's quite clear on the satellite image, isn't it? That dip in the jet stream, you can see it here. Just that, you can see the trough on the jet stream there, and that's where that low pressure is moving in. Now what's happening is that trough is just shifting, and the low is just arching its way a little bit further north. As we go through the next day or so, that low pressure is drifting up across the UK. Let's take the jet stream off. There's the low pressure. The winds around it still coming up from the south, which is why it's turned milder. Those southerly winds, but this low pressure is basically mean the air is becoming more and more unstable. So that low pressure is destabilizing the air, which means the air is going to rush up and it is going to generate some showers, some quite heavy showers, particularly so it looks like on Saturday afternoon. So if we look at that, what that means for the weather, well, this is back to today. We've got that low approaching. We've got a weak weather front, and it's bringing some showery rain across parts of the west. Many places, though, still dry and bright today and still quite warm, 16, 17. We could still squeak up to 20 degrees. Got 21.3 yesterday, making it the warmest day of the year so far. Probably not that high because there's more cloud around, so there's less power from the sun. You can see much more in the way of high cloud around. But generally speaking, that low pressure drifting northwards. And as we fast forward to Saturday, you can see that showery rain, low pressure systems breaking north, showery rain drifting north as well. Now, still for a good part of Saturday morning, I suspect the south will be dry, but if we go through into the afternoon, we are going to see more and more showers breaking out on Saturday afternoon in this zone in particular, so parts of Wales, the Midlands. Now, it's kind of a summer situation now. We've got convection, so that the air is being warmed by the power of the sun from the ground. It's lifting up, and that's generating the showers. And we could see some pretty heavy ones. It's almost like a summer situation, quite early for this kind of convection. So that means it's going to be hit and miss as to where it sees the heavy downpour. So too early to put too much detail on it. But where we see these showers across England and Wales tomorrow, they could be quite heavy and, say, hit and miss affairs, but some downpours are possible. By the time we get to Sunday, the air's stabled out a little bit and the fronts have kind of cleared away. So actually, Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, decent day probably on Sunday, but in across England and Wales, again, late in the day, we could see some pretty heavy showers developing, but don't take this too literally. If you've got plans for Sunday, then just keep up to date with the forecast, keep checking, because the zone of where we see showers is likely to shift. As always the case as we go into the summer, we get these convection, these heavy showers. They're never to be relied upon about exactly where and exactly when, so you've got to keep up to date with the forecast. And one of the best things to do is actually track them on the radar. And on our Met Office free app, you can track the radar yourself and see where the showers actually are and see what is going on. So, yeah, looking like a big change for the weekend. Still quite warm, but obviously we've got this wind back off into these eastern coasts. So we will see temperatures struggling a little bit on the... what do I want? That one, don't I? Take that one off. Sunday's temperatures. So these eastern coasts, look at that, with that breeze coming back, and we're back into single figures here. So after a warm start to the month, then a cold spell, and then a warm spell, we're back to chilly conditions here. But still in this zone, when the sun's out, I suspect we'll get into the mid or even high teens in places with a bit of sunshine. So the weekend isn't a write-off. It's just more showery. It's just a change after what has been a very sunny week. That kind of sums up the weekend.
Yeah, it's looking a bit colder then for Whitby and Robin Hood Bay. Wild Violet is heading there tomorrow and Sunday for their dad's birthday.
Well, Saturday's the better day than Sunday because the winds. Look at the change in wind direction. So yeah, still a bit coming in from the sea in Robin Hood's Bay way. in here. So yeah, right on the coast there at Scarborough, you could get a bit of a breeze coming in. But Saturday is more southerly still. By the time we get to Sunday, and you get those easterly winds coming in from the North Sea. Of course, the sea is at its coldest at this time of year, and the North Sea is never warm. Having grown up just outside of Hull and been to Robin Hood's Bay many a time and been in the sea there, I can vouch for the fact that it's never warm, but it's particularly cold at this time of year. So that will feel quite fresh, I suspect, on Sunday afternoon.
Another question about upcoming weather. Dabsy has got some work tonight outside Southend on Sea. It's looking like it could pour down, he says.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's one of those ones where there's quite a bit of uncertainty still, even at that kind of short lead time, I'd say, for this evening. Southend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this kind of moist zone coming up from the south, but I think most of the evening would probably be dry. It's just a question mark. It's going to be one of those ones you need to track the radar. So it depends how long and how quickly that all comes up from the south. But yeah, I suspect most of this evening will be dry. It'll be later on. We could see some rain, and even that, again, don't take these too literally. You need to watch the radar, see yourself when the rains come in. It's one of those situations.
Nice Knack says, does the Met Office provide weather forecasts for the bases on British Antarctic Territory, South Georgia and the Falkland Islands? It's a quick one. Yes. Yep, got meteorologists based in those locations, providing support for defence and all sorts of different types of forecasts, including on the Falkland Islands a sheep chill forecast. So, yeah.
We do British Forces broadcast service every day, don't we? We do a 3-minute broadcast that goes to BFBS, British Forces Broadcast Service, like their own TV channel, and we cover wherever there are forces, basically. So we cover the Falklands in that, don't we? We cover places like Cyprus, parts of Germany, and Gibraltar and places like that. So we go right around the world in that forecast. We don't get to go to those locations, sadly, but we do have Met Office meteorologists at a lot of them.
Yeah, that's one of the perks of being a meteorologist at the Met Office. You can work in other locations, and it's an interesting opportunity to go to those kinds of places that you might not normally go to on holiday.
Amy, one of our presenters, is away at the moment and she'll be coming back soon. But so Amy's on the app and on our YouTube channel sometimes, and she'll be coming back soon.
Yeah. There was a question earlier, I can't quite find it now, but someone asked what was the sunniest year on record. Looked at the stats, 2003 was the sunniest year on record, followed by 1995, followed by 2018. So these might stand out in your memory, relatively recent years, considering those records go all the way back to 1910. So, yeah, some
over 100
relatively
years.
Recent
What
years.
were you doing in 2003?
I was at university in Edinburgh, where it wasn't as sunny as it was everywhere else in the UK. it was at the time the highest temperature on record was recorded, but I don't remember it being that warm. It was always quite windy and cool.
Well, I was in not in 2003, but the previous warmest spell on record, when it was Gloucestershire for ages. What year was that? 92, I think. And I was in the Western Highlands for that August, and it was just raining all the time. And that was the highest temperature, I think, until 2003. Yeah, what was I doing? I was at the BBC in 2003 doing the weather on the telly. Oh, those were the days. Yeah. Those were the days.
Reminiscing. There was another question before we got sidetracked. What's the pollen count this weekend?
I haven't checked, but I have been sneezing quite a bit, and I knew on our app the new pollen, you could sign up for the pollen alert. So that data's just coming in. So you can now sign up on our app for your pollen alerts. But I've been sneezing a lot this week. I get really early pollen. It's ridiculous. People always think I've got a cold. But this time of year is the worst for me. I think it's beech pollen. I think it's beech tree pollen.
You are like our very own Burkhardt trap.
That's
the instrument that collects it.
I've often been known as that, yeah, a Burkhardt trap. Been called worse. So yeah, I've been sneezing a lot. So I think tree pollen is on the up, particularly in the south, and sunny skies, and the temperature. And it varies, doesn't it? What season it is, but trees get triggered earlier than grass pollen, which peaks in June and July, when temperatures need to be kind of mid-20s, don't they? Because it can get too warm for grass pollen. But yeah, conditions with this warm spell this week obviously been pretty good for tree pollen, so the levels are on the up. But you can sign up for alerts on our app.
Yeah. Now, Clare has been looking this week at the State of the Global Climate Report that came out this week, and she's put together a nice little summary of the contents of that report, which I believe we can watch right now.
Hello there. The State of the Global Climate Report is like Earth's annual health check, giving a comprehensive picture of how our planet is doing. Published by the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO, it's a report card we can't afford to ignore. Earth's vital signs are signalling clear and present danger. The report tracks many key indicators of planetary health, including atmospheric carbon dioxide levels, global mean near-surface air temperature, ocean heat content and pH levels, glacial mass and sea ice extent. So how did 2024 shape up? Let's break it down. Carbon dioxide levels are now higher than at any point in the last 800,000 years. The past 10 years have been the warmest since our records began, with 2024 now the hottest year on record. It's not just a trend. Earth's critical systems are changing at an accelerated pace, playing out through the increasing number of extreme weather events across the world. Our oceans are absorbing the heat. New records have been set in the past 8 years for ocean heat content. Think of it like a fever that just won't break. The Arctic has seen its lowest sea ice levels 18 times in the past 18 years, and Antarctica, the story is just as stark. Sea ice is retreating. Glaciers are also retreating at an unprecedented pace, and sea levels, they're rising twice the rate they were when satellite measurements began. This isn't just data, it's a wake-up call. The planet is sending us signals which are impossible to ignore. Now, there's so much more in this report. It's really worth a read. More details are on our Met Office website.
You can never have too much Clare Nasir on the show. People have been asking for more Clare, so we thought we'd deliver. So yeah, really good report there from Clare about that WMO State of the Climate report. People have also been asking about Annie in the chat over recent weeks as well, and I did have a quick chat with her earlier in the week via WhatsApp. She's doing very well in the Netherlands with her baby, so all is good there. So yeah, for those who are asking about Clare and or Annie, yes, all is good. And yeah, we can never have too much Clare on the show. Rainfall amounts, just thought I'd show you this graph. I showed it in the deep dive, but we've had 3 more days of data since then. So this is March, the cumulative rainfall. This black line is the average. This reddish brown line is the wettest March on record. This blue line is the driest March on record, and these grey slabs represent the 90th and 95th percentile. And we are now down below the 95th percentile. So this is the current month. We're kind of flatlined after a bit of a wet spell, 3rd to the 5th. So it has been very, very dry. Still a long way from the driest on record, but if it didn't rain again, it would be probably matching with that, but as we've seen, it is going to rain again. Even though it looks a bit drier again into next week, we are going to see some rain this weekend, so that will be on the uptick. But yeah, it has been a very, very dry March so far. Where has the rain been? Well, I alluded to it earlier. It's been very wet in Iberia, and I believe we've got some stats for Gibraltar.
Yeah, we were talking about where else we provide weather forecasts. We've got meteorologists based in Gibraltar, and one of those meteorologists told us yesterday that they've already recorded their 2nd wettest March on record with 11 days to go. That's 232 millimetres of rain so far this month in Gibraltar, just behind 2018's record breaker. So yeah, remarkably wet in Gibraltar, following actually a lot of dry weather through the winter. They've had a lot of rain, thunderstorms. It is settling down for a time early next week, though the sunshine returns. Yeah, patterns returning to something closer to climatological norm. And this is the temperature map so far, the maximum temperature map through March. So I said we had that warm spell around about the first weekend. Then it dipped off a bit last week, but we are still running quite significantly above average for maximum temperatures up to the 20th. So it has been a warm month so far, even though the nights have been quite chilly and noticeably cold across the south. So in the south, the minimum temperature has been below average. In the north, minimum temperature has been above average because we've had a lot of cloudy nights. And this shows that that's kind of averaging out at the moment. So the current minimum temperature is close to that average line here after that warmer spell. But we have seen those regional differences across particularly the minimum temperatures, which means we're running close to average for minimum temperatures, but maximum temperatures are quite a bit above average. Right, I promised a quiz.
Oh, is it quiz time?
And art.
Is it quiz time?
Let's quiz your art knowledge, see if Mr. Draper...
Right.
This should be fun, I hope. Do you know your Rembrandt from your Van Gogh? Do you know your Monet from your Van Gogh? We'll see. We'll see. This is a bit different. We're going to see images appear on the screen, and you're going to answer questions. So, Rich, if you could load up the first image. Price. B, stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. C, damaged in a fire. D, discovered to be a forgery. So, what happened to the painting in 1990?
1990?
Yeah. Sold for a record price, stolen, damaged in a fire, or was it a forgery?
Oh, just George just said he couldn't hear loads of that, so I don't know what's going on with the sound. So maybe you want to repeat the question in case people didn't hear it.
Okay, this is Rembrandt, and it's a painting called The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, 1633. Was it, in 1990, sold at an auction for record price, stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, damaged in a fire, or discovered to be a forgery?
I'm putting my answer in there to you, so I can't be accused of cheating. That's what I'm going for. But yeah, let us know what you think at home. Fill in the quiz on the chat.
Okay, we've been told that when the image is a full screen, it's difficult to hear. So let's show the next image. Yeah, and this is a Claude Monet painting. And it was, I'm not going to give the title because that's the question. It's an impressionistic winter landscape painted in Normandy. So it's weather themed. But what? Let's show it again in a second because the question is, what is the bird on the gate? Is it a sparrow, crow, magpie, or robin?
Right, I have to show it again now. I didn't realise I had to look at it in detail. On the gate?
Yeah.
What are the options?
Sparrow. Apologies for that massive close-up. Sparrow, crow, magpie, or robin. A, B, C, or D. That little bird. It's also the title of the painting.
Okay.
This painting is notable for Monet's innovative use of coloured shadows.
I thought that.
That was also the feedback from your GCSE art, was it?
Yeah, so I had to go to the screen there to see what it was because I couldn't get it up. I could probably get it up on the screen.
Okay, let's see what other bits. Monet, yeah, someone's enjoying the Monet. Lots of different guesses for the first one. The damage of fire damage from Gordy B, retro, Macintosh, forgery, stunning work, Dan Fry. I don't know if that's the paintings or our quiz, but thank you anyway.
Just the weather studio live in general. What I should have said is, show me the Monet.
Oh dear, it's too late. Next painting, please. Let's move on. You'll recognise this.
Oh, the scream!
Yeah, absolutely. And this is very weather related. Now, I'm not going to ask about volcanic skies, which is an interesting phenomena in this painting. The fact that this was painted around 9-10 years after the eruption of Krakatoa, and it's reckoned that Edvard Munch remembered the vivid red from the aftermath of that volcano, although he didn't know about the volcanic eruption. He remembered what the skies looked like, and that inspired this painting. I'm not going to ask about that. I'm going to ask about the swirls in the sky and what unusual atmospheric phenomenon is thought to be depicted here. Is it A, the aurora borealis, B, nacreous clouds, C, thunderstorms, or D, an eclipse? So, in that painting, where you've got these waves in the sky, beautiful red colours, is that the aurora, nacreous clouds, is it a thunderstorm, or is it an eclipse? I should say, is it thought to be those things? He never actually confirmed one way or the other.
Did he not?
No. But
Did
scientists have suggested that it's one of those.
Was he a bit bonkers?
He was obsessed with the mental state of people because his grandfather went insane, and yeah, he drew a lot of paintings. He painted a lot of paintings based on people going mad. And this one, I think, was inspired by him hearing a scream at sunset when you had that kind of blood red in the sky.
Good knowledge. Yeah, I mean, you're learning so much today. We've done occlusions, we've done amazing pictures, haven't we? Stats. And now we're getting an art lesson from Aidan. You don't get this on YouTube every day, do you? No. Yeah. Think on.
Previous question, Liam Parker's guessed crow. Liam Parker has guessed nacreous clouds for that one. Jet Set John, nacreous clouds.
Nacreous is winning the poll. I've answered. That's why I'm on there. I'm not Googling it. I've answered Aidan, so my answer's in.
63% for nacreous clouds. Okay, here we go. 2 more left. Next painting, please. You'll know this one, of course. Van Gogh, Starry Night. And the question is, which planet did he capture in this painting? Although he didn't know it at the time. There's a very prominent planet, and it's the big circle, not the one in the top right, that's the moon, but the one that's by those trees. You can see it towards the bottom, towards
those
the
are
horizon.
trees?
Yeah, cypress trees or something. So he captured a painting. The options are, he captured a planet. The options are Mars, Venus, Jupiter or Saturn. A, B, C or D. Mars, Venus, Jupiter or Saturn. So he didn't know what planet he was painting, but scientists have determined it from the time of year and time of day and so on that he supposedly painted this.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I've seen that painting or something similar.
Let's see what
in
people
Amsterdam.
are guessing. Okay. Ooh, close that. Still got to get Aidan back in a glider. Yeah. I'm not sure my stomach could handle that.
That's another video you can watch on our... Is that on Learn About Weather channel?
No, it's on our main channel.
It's very funny watching Aidan up in the skies and then feeling slightly queasy at one point.
Dabsy's guessing Venus and Saturn. They're both very bright in the sky. Mars from Retro and Macintosh. And then asking the audience, the most popular answer is Venus.
Starry Night, who is it? Don McLean, Starry Night. Vincent's called, isn't it? It's one of my favourite songs, my dad's favourite songs, and kind of one of mine as well. Love that song.
Which cathedral is featured prominently in this painting from John Constable?
Ooh.
Which cathedral is featured prominently? Okay, when that
There
appears,
we go.
you'll see it. And the options are A, Canterbury Cathedral, B, St Paul's Cathedral, C, Salisbury Cathedral, or D, Llandaff Cathedral, where I grew up. So which of those cathedrals is featured prominently? What you'll notice in this painting is
There's
the
a rainbow.
rainbow. Beautiful.
Now, what were the options again?
Canterbury, St Paul's, Salisbury, or Llandaff?
I'm pretty sure I can narrow it down to... Can I do 50-50? I can narrow it down to 2. It's definitely
50-50.
It was definitely not Llandaff. And it's definitely not St Paul's, because it's got a big dome on it. I think...
What are people guessing? Here we go. Salisbury, 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 Salisbury. Seems to be a popular answer from Gabrielle, Retro McIntosh, Andrew Jones, Maguire.
This is good, isn't it? We should do this again.
And the rainbow, by the way, symbolises hope after a storm.
Beautiful.
Not sure how much hope you've got with your quiz answers.
Yeah. Where are you at? Let us know how you do. Right.
Shall we go through the answers?
I could have 0, I could have 5 here.
Let's take a look at the first image again. And the question about this image, Rembrandt's Storm on the Sea of Galilee, was it sold at auction for record price? Was it stolen? Was it damaged in a fire? Or was it discovered to be a forgery? You guessed...
Stolen. I said it was stolen.
And you are correct. On the morning of March the 18th, 2 thieves disguised as police officers entered the museum, stole it, and 12 other works. The heist remains unsolved. The painting remains missing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's almost exactly 35 years to the day. What do you do with it once you've got? Well,
you can't sell it,
can you? Well, you could, I guess, to some.
It would be one of the most expensive paintings ever, but yeah, you can't. And it may be damaged after they cut it out and rolled it out.
Yeah, true.
Very sad.
True.
Okay, next question, and this is on the Claude Monet Impressionist painting of a snowy scene in Normandy. He painted a lot of snowy scenes, actually, Monet, and this was during a time of lower global temperatures, you know, around the Little Ice Age period.
Ah, so where was that?
That was in Normandy.
Normandy.
Yeah. So the question was, what's the bird in this painting? And it's also the title of the painting. Is it a sparrow, crow, magpie or robin? A lot of people answered magpie, including...
Me.
You.
It's either a magpie or a crow.
You're correct.
It is a magpie.
You are correct. Yeah, very nice.
As a Liverpool fan, I'm not really keen on magpies this week. But that's a football reference, but not to worry.
What unusual atmospheric phenomenon was depicted in the sky of Munch's The Scream? Was it the aurora? Was it nacreous clouds, thunderstorms or the eclipse? The most popular answer here was the same answer that you gave. No, it wasn't. No.
I said aurora.
No, it was nacreous clouds, which is the correct answer,
What,
not
nacreous?
the aurora. Nacreous clouds.
Nacreous clouds? They're never that bright. That's nonsense.
Well, what you've got to consider is that this was Norway, where nacreous clouds, they are, of course, high-altitude clouds. They're clouds that form in the stratosphere. You're more likely to see them when you're closer to the poles. So, yeah, it might have been the aurora, but scientists are suggesting it was more likely to be nacreous clouds, and the vivid red, of course, perhaps related to the Krakatoa eruption that happened some years earlier.
I'll never look at that picture again. That's the same kind of
that's a shame, because you were on a winning streak. What planet did Van Gogh capture in Starry Night? He called it the Morning Star, which is a bit of a clue.
Ah, that's definitely Venus then.
It was Venus.
Yes!
Yes. Again, the most popular answer. You guys know your art. I'm impressed.
Very impressed. Very impressed.
Again, he didn't know it was Venus. He called it the Morning Star, but people have figured out since, given the time of year and so on, that it was likely to be
the most
Venus.
obvious planet that we see, isn't it? The most frequent planet that we see, and looks like a bright star often. So. Yeah.
And finally, name this cathedral, which was featured in John Constable's painting Salisbury Cathedral from the Meadows. Most people guessed Salisbury Cathedral. Good guess. It was correct. So well done. 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5, 80%. I mean, I think that's higher than a C, right? Mr. Draper.
Yes.
Would be very proud
You
now
have improved.
I have improved, definitely higher than a C. So 80% happy with that. Let us know how you did. Anyone get 5 out of 5, 100%? Anyone get an ace, triple star with 5 out of 5? That would be very impressive.
Lots of 3s and 4s. That is impressive.
Yeah, that's a good quiz. I'm going to do one on weather and music, I think, next time I'm in that seat.
Okay.
Let's do that. Yes, because
Gordy B, 1 out of 4. Sorry,
Gordy B. I think it's Gordy B's birthday. Did I see? I think it's Gordy B's birthday this week. Happy birthday if it is Gordy B. I think I saw that
Monday,
earlier,
was it?
right from the start. So happy birthday, Gordy B. Gordy B, one of our regular viewers, regular contributors. Thank you, everyone who's been contributing today. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done already.
I think we said that there'd be something on the further ahead period, and a few people were asking about the southern stratospheric warming.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Which did take place last week, so we talked about this southern stratospheric warming happening last week. It's likely to be what we call the final warming, so sometimes these warmings happen and then you get reverting back to what you typically see in the winter, which is a strong circulation around the stratospheric polar vortex. But at this time of year, March going into April, you can get a final warming, which is a seasonal thing, and we did indeed see this southern stratospheric warming happen last week, so that wind circulation has been disrupted, and that can have an influence on our own weather because it can cause a weaker jet stream and more blocking in the atmosphere. And although next week we're expecting some kind of weak weather systems to come along from time to time, weak lows, typical for spring, to affect northern parts of the UK in particular, nothing particularly stormy, nothing particularly unsettled. And then it's into April that we've got this signal, haven't we?
I can show it on here, actually. If we show this and look, let's not do the rainfall one, but just looking at this, it kind of tells the story a little bit. We were struggling this with the longer range forecast because there's no strong signal, as there often isn't at this time of year. So this is where you break the weather down into 8 different flavours, and at the moment we've got that southwesterly dominated. That's what we've got for the next couple of days. Then the Azores high kind of tries to build in the yellow, but as we go through the back end of March, dates along here, it's very messy. Basically, all options are equally likely, and that's typical when you have this kind of slow-moving weather patterns, and that's what we're likely to get because, as part of a knock-on effect of the SSW, more likely to get a weakening jet stream, more likely to get easterly winds, and that just kind of slows everything down. But whether we are stuck with low pressure sitting over us or high pressure sitting over us, it's too far away to tell. But it's very likely that the back end of March and into the early part of April, the weather patterns will be slow moving. And that's kind of indicative of this, where you don't get a strong signal, because it could be anything, basically, it could be any of those weather flavours. But they're all kind of equally likely because it's just, there's no strong signal for that. But that in itself is a signal that the weather patterns are quite slow moving.
One more thing that is also related to that transition into April is the Madden-Julian oscillation. There's a video on the Madden-Julian oscillation on our Learn About Weather channel. Now, through next week, that's expected to transition in its phase. It's basically an enhancement of tropical rainfall that travels across the globe, and when it's in certain regions of the globe, it can have consequences on our own weather. And to cut a long story short, into next week, it's expected to move into the West Pacific region, and that can also, just like the sudden stratospheric warming, promote slower moving systems, a weaker jet stream, about 7 to 10 days after. So we're talking again, that's another thing that could lead to this more block setup for the start of April.
Yes, and if you want to watch our deep dive and our 10-day trend, which kind of features those kind of graphs, then one new place you can watch it is on Spotify. We've got a Spotify channel, which is really quite cool, and it plays one video a day, and it shows you here how you can actually access that. So if you are on Spotify, because it does videos as well as music, you can watch our kind of daily specials on there. So the deep dive, the 10-day trend goes on there, the weekend, and the Weather Studio Live, I think, is on there as well. I think this will be on there as well. So that is something else you can tune into.
Yeah. So we will be back.
Is it me and you again next week?
I meant the royal we. I don't know who it is.
Oh, I think it might be me and you again next week.
Is it? Okay, well, that's good news for us.
Good news
Not necessarily for anyone else.
There you go.
But yeah, thank you for joining us. Really interesting questions. I love the variety of questions that we get in these lives, and really enjoyed answering them and engaging. So continue to ask us questions in the comments, hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends all about these. And
WhatsApp, I did say, I did promise that I'd mention WhatsApp as well as Spotify. We're also on WhatsApp, and you can find us there, and we post on there pretty much once a day as well, so there's lots of chat in there. Join the community chat. Is it called that? Community chat? Anyway, we're on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
We'll have more.
I think it is, yeah.
Yes. So yes, thank you very much. Keep your comments coming, even if you're not watching this live. We do try and read them. We'll answer more of them next week. Well done for taking part in the quiz. And yeah, share the love, hit the like button, and thank you very much for watching.
Bye-bye.